Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Delphi Forum. Mr. Jeff Maggioncalda, Chief Executive Officer of Coursera, is with us. Welcome, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing great. Nice to be here. Thank you very much for having me, Elena.
Mr. Maggioncalda, I think that COVID is like a game changer as far as education is concerned. I think that COVID is reshaping online education, but what is the real, in numbers, impact of COVID on the demand of online classes and degrees?
Well, we clearly see one part of that demand. At Coursera, we have a platform. It's three-sided. We serve individual learners from around the world, and we also serve institutions. We serve businesses and governments, and also academic institutions. When we think about the demand that has arisen because of COVID, we see today 82 million learners who are learning on Coursera, and 30 million came in 2020. So during COVID, and we saw it country after country, as the countries locked down, we saw a great increase in the number of individuals coming to learn on Coursera. And we also saw businesses get more committed to reskilling and digital transformation. We saw governments thinking about how to reskill unemployed people. And of course, universities are very focused on online education because the campus is closed. And we will always now, I think, have online learning as a part of the college experience.
Mhm. Whose adoption was faster? Governments, education institutions, enterprises?
As you probably could imagine, individuals moved the fastest when the
Huh.
office is closed and when the campus is closed. And UNESCO estimates that 1.6 billion students had their campuses closed in April of 2020. We saw immediate spikes on Coursera. I'd say the next
Mhm.
fastest was the universities. They had to move online very rapidly as their campuses closed. Then businesses, and now governments. We're now starting to see in 2021 a much bigger focus is from governments thinking about how to use online learning to reskill people into new digital careers.
Mhm. In general, COVID accelerated the adoption of the online learning worldwide. So now, do
Well,
you believe that? Hmm? It's true. Do you believe that there is room for making it more attractive or more interactive in order to engage even more people?
yes, absolutely. It was interesting when most universities who were forced to move online had never taught online before. And the fastest way to do it is to turn on a Zoom camera and just lecture to the camera. But that's very tiring for the professor and it's very tiring for the students. What we find to be the most engaging experience, and learners on Coursera rank every course. What we see is the highest ranked courses are the ones that have an interactive component that's real time, but also an asynchronous component that's more flexible. That mixture of on demand asynchronous as well as some live synchronous interaction seems to be most attractive to individual learners.
Mhm. And what about the post-pandemic era? Do you think that more universities will put online degrees?
Yeah, we have seen a great interest in online degrees from individuals, from learners, as well as from
Mhm.
universities. So today
Mhm.
there are 30 bachelor's and master's degrees offered by universities on Coursera in the US, in Europe, in Latin America, in Russia, all over the world. And we see that more and more universities seem to be moving more of their degrees online for affordability, to reach a more
Mhm.
global audience, and also to scale up their programs.
Mhm. So I think that we need a piece of advice, maybe
Mhm.
not ours, but any university that is looking to launch an online degree from
Well, I
you.
think there's a few pieces of advice. I think one is it has to start with your faculty. And what we've heard
Mhm.
from many universities is that faculty are not yet experienced in creating online courses. They have become experienced using Zoom, as most of us have, and Google Meet
Mhm.
and Microsoft Teams. But what we find is many universities will start by having their faculty actually start learning online so that they are themselves the learners first, and then
Mhm.
they can start building courses and delivering
Mhm.
that kind of learning online.
And we also need the success story from you. It's very important to know that this can work really fast. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we started delivering online degrees with the University of Illinois. They put some of their MBA program online. Within a year, they had moved all of their executive education MBA online. And within 2 years, they had shut down all of their on campus MBA. And now their entire MBA program runs online. It's all delivered on Coursera. There's more than 3,000 students in the University of Illinois all taking their MBA online. And now the number of total students taking degrees on Coursera has grown to more than 13,000. And the growth rate has been 80% per year in the last 12 months. And so we're seeing very rapid growth. The universities are finding scale, and the learners are finding great affordability and flexibility.
Mm-hmm. And what about the content, Mr. Maggioncalda? What type of content do you think that learners will be more interested in?
It's interesting. For the most part, learners on Coursera, whether they're pursuing a bachelor's degree or a master's
Mhm.
degree, or even professional certificates, for individual learners, they seem to be most interested in the job relevant courses and degrees.
Mm.
And so we
Mhm,
see a
mhm.
great interest in data science. We see a great
Uh-huh.
interest in cloud computing, in business, and now we're starting to actually see a lot more interest in healthcare. So we have two public health degrees from Michigan and Imperial College of London. They're both very popular, especially following the pandemic.
So, oh, this is very, very interesting. Very interesting. And what about Greece? What are the more popular domains in Greece for the Greek
Yeah,
audience?
so today we have about 15 million learners on Coursera in Europe, about
Oh.
325,000 learners who are Greek, and they are a little bit older. So our average age is about 32 years old, but in Greece, it's 34 years old. We often do find
Mm-hmm.
working professionals are more likely to be taking courses on
Mm-hmm.
Coursera rather than on campus because they don't want to quit their jobs. We find,
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking, about 40% of the students are taking the courses with their mobile phone. And in Greece, we see a very similar level of interest in the courses as we do around the world. So a lot of data science, a lot of business
Mm-hmm.
courses, and a lot of cloud computing as well.
Mm-hmm. Over the last year, as you have already mentioned, governments have taken action to address these levels of unemployment, and Coursera was greatly involved in this. In which way, firstly?
Yeah. Well, we decided with our university partners in April of 2020 to launch what we called the Workforce Recovery Initiative. We have a
Hmm.
product called Coursera for Government. It's a version of Coursera that governments use to upskill their citizens. And we decided to offer that for free to any national, state, or local government in the world. And what we
Mhm.
found is during 2020, over 300 government agencies used Coursera, mostly
Hmm.
because they could not do in person training, and they realized that many of the kinds of training they needed to do was digital training for digital jobs. And so we have a growing level of interest from governments in skilling people into entry level digital jobs
From scratch,
from
almost from
scratch.
scratch.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so Elena, it's amazing. One of the things that happened in January of 2018, Google launched what's called the Google IT Support professional certificate. And this is a program that Google built for people who don't have college educations and for people who have no background in IT support. There are many, many open jobs in entry-level IT support, but not enough skilled people. But you can do the job without a college degree or any prior background. It takes about 5 months to learn these skills online. We now have over 500,000 people who have taken the Google IT cert. 15,000 have gotten jobs. Over 60% don't have college degrees. And now we have really grown this portfolio of entry-level professional certificates to 13 different certificates in IT support,
Mm-hmm.
cybersecurity, data analyst, social media
Mm-hmm.
marketing, and many others.
Mm-hmm. What did you learn from this year working with governments?
Well, it's hard to get started. It's
It's
hard to get
different.
it is different.
Mhm.
What we have learned is many governments have no familiarity with online learning. I think they didn't
Mm.
realize that learning entry-level digital skills online is possible and it's scalable and it's effective. One of the nice things about learning online for governments is that many of the individuals who are looking to get back into the workplace need to learn digital skills to do digital jobs. And you can learn those kinds of digital skills online. It's affordable, it's flexible. If you are already taking care of family members or you cannot move to a physical location, the ability to reach individuals all around a country or countryside is much more possible with digital learning rather than in person. So many governments are really embracing online learning to reskill people for these jobs.
But in what markets are you seeing greater collaborations from governments? And why do
You
you
know,
think?
yeah, it's
Mhm,
interesting. We work with a group called, we work with many nonprofit agencies as
mhm,
well as government. One good example is called the Commonwealth of Learning. It's a British Commonwealth program that serves
mhm,
54 different countries around the world. And so we've been able to work with this nonprofit to work with ministers of education and ministers of governors of labor with 54 countries. We saw the country of Barbados license
mhm.
Coursera for every citizen in Barbados. And we have seen a number,
Oh,
yeah, for the whole country. And so we really do see, because you can learn on your mobile phone, you can learn
mhm,
flexibly anywhere that you are. So we do see many governments realizing that the affordability and scale can help them quickly
mhm,
help people get these new digital jobs.
mhm. The pandemic has had a terrible impact on billions of people. I mean,
Mhm.
unemployment, I mean, poverty, it changed uh, lives all over the world. So you are launching some initiatives, Coursera initiative for these people. Can you name some of these initiatives?
Yeah, two of the big initiatives that we launched was number one, that workforce recovery program that I had mentioned. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
program that really focused on helping governments help unemployed people. Another major initiative was something called the Campus Response Initiative. This was an initiative that we did for any academic institution that was closed because of COVID. We offered it for free to any academic institution in the world. And what we found is that 4,000 colleges and universities offered this program to almost 10 million learners who together enrolled in over 28 million courses, all just in about 7 months. And so it was really a program that reached millions of people and delivered online learning to tens of millions of courses. So we found that to be very effective.
Mm-hmm. Let me. I want to make clear this. Okay. Aside from becoming partners with universities, in what other ways you're trying to cooperate with universities?
Yeah, there's a few things that we do. On the one side, we have universities who publish on Coursera. We have 160
Mm-hmm.
top universities around the world, and they create
Mm-hmm.
courses, degrees, and they publish them to Coursera. But in 2019, we also launched a product called Coursera for Campus, where any
For campus.
university could license that content. So many universities don't have online content, and they will build that content over time, but they can immediately, right now, license 4,000 courses from other top universities to deliver to their students online. So they can author their own courses, but they can also license courses from other top universities. And that's probably the most important thing that we can do, is not only allow people to author, but also get really quick access to existing high quality courses from top universities.
Mm-hmm. And how does Coursera support partners in delivering the best
Mm.
online teaching to learners?
Well, we were founded about 9 years ago by two professors from
Mm.
Stanford, Andrew Ng and Daphne Kohler. And so we have now had hundreds of millions of course enrollments, and we can watch which students struggle on certain tests. We ask and survey students,
Mm.
we say, which courses do they like? And
Mm-hmm.
what we found is that there are methods of creating courses by putting them in, longer courses into shorter chunks, making sure that you can test people's knowledge as they go through. Students love hands-on learning, and they love building projects using tools.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a group called Teaching and Learning. They're a group of advisors who actually teach professors how to
Uh-huh.
author good courses on Coursera. So it's not only the technology, it's also the service to help teach the professors how to use that technology to create good online courses.
And one last question. Are you joining Coursera lessons?
Oh, me personally, yes, of
Yes,
course,
you.
of course. I have some recommendations.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
exactly what I was expecting from you. Mm.
yes. So there's a wonderful course from UC San Diego by a professor named
Mhm.
Barb Oakley called Learning How to Learn. She's a
Uh-huh.
neurobiologist. She teaches you how your brain works, and she gives you strategies on how to learn effectively. That one is wonderful. There's a great course called The Science of Well-Being from Yale. People love this one. It has over 3 million enrollments. It teaches you about how we make choices and why some choices make us not happy and other choices make us happy. And then I'll give you one more, is AI
Yes,
for Everyone.
yes.
So this is from Andrew Ng. It's an introduction to artificial intelligence and how it might reshape society.
This is really great. Thank you very much, Mr. Maggioncalda. Dear Jeff, it was a very, very interesting conversation with you. Hope
Thank you.
to meet you next year in Delphi here in Greece. Thank you very much. Have a nice
Thank
afternoon.
you. Next year, I will be there with you.